Is it really ethical to cheer on the deaths of people in the submarine? I have 2 philosophy degrees. Let's talk about it. First off, a lot has been said already, including by, I have a new TikTok mutual friend who's also a TikTok bioethicist. Hooray! And her take is about how there's a difference between cheering on the death of an individual versus cheering on the death of a system. And that's part of where the moral disagreement is. But I actually have another angle. There is a philosopher at Cornell named Kate Mann, and she explains the concept of himpathy. This is best explained in the case of Brock Turner. But it happens all the time. It's just a very illustrative example. If you're not familiar with the case, he assaulted someone and, unlike most people in society, was actually caught and prosecuted for it. But what happened after is a lot of people were like, oh, poor him, like, oh no, the sentence was so harsh, like you're ruining this boy's life. People had empathy. They just had empathy for the wrong person. Kate Mann calls it in this case, himpathy. Part of what is so useful about this concept is that empathy is a good thing. But when empathy is misdirected, it can become a force of oppression. And if you're keeping score or you come from a Western traditional background, this is not a new concept at all. Appetite is not evil, but when you have too much appetite, it becomes greed. Goldilocks said it, but Aristotle said it first when he talked about the concept of the golden mean. And in a way, this is another way to think of literally all of the 7 deadly sins. They're just a good desire taken a little bit too far. So the rule that people are operating under in this debate is never speak ill of the dead or always have empathy. But if you have the rule always have empathy and you only have empathy for certain groups of people, particularly rich people in this society, then you're breaking your own rule. You don't always have empathy. Lawyer and TikToker Victoria Hammett already made this case. We have all this empathy and outrage around a couple of billionaires in a boat, but we have none of that emotional energy for hundreds of Pakistani immigrants who died at the same time. This, by the way, is the book where Kate Mann defines empathy. I didn't show it yet. So yes, we should have empathy for people in society. But just like having too much anger turns into wrath, too much desire turns into lust, having too much empathy and directing it at the wrong people is an 8th deadly sin. It is an idolatry of the ruling class, whether it is men, rich people, or whiteness.